been told that hot from the house, we have John McDonnell, MP for Hayes and Hollington.
Thanks. Sorry, I'm at the House of Commons and the debate has just finished. I've sat for 7 hours and not been called, so it's been a really constructive experience. I'll be brief. I've had a double murder in my constituency today and I've got to get back. Not related to the riots or anything like that, but related to the general violence within our society at the moment. Let me just say this. Some of you may have watched the debate in the House today or listened to it. And there was an element of, well, I suppose you can only describe it as absolute hypocrisy. No one here, neither do I, and nothing I say condones or excuses violence. But if we're going to have a proper debate about what happened over the last few days, there needs to be some home truth spoken within the House of Commons, and that's what I was trying to do today, but never got the opportunity. And one of the basic home truths is this, is that for 3 decades now, the major political parties that are in power have allowed to be constructed a society of looters at every level of society. I sat there today in the House of Commons. Yes, I sat there today in the House of Commons with MPs on the benches who'd fiddled their expenses. Yes, some of them have gone inside, but there's others there, including Cameron, who had to pay money back with his expenses. There were ministers there, ex-ministers, who soon after retiring as ministers became consultants or directors of companies they'd awarded contracts to when in office. That's the moral example that's been given by governments, ministers and MPs for the last 3 decades at least. And then you come to the real looters, and it's been mentioned earlier. They didn't wear hoodies. They didn't smash things up. They just had to go into the city, press a few computer buttons, speculate with our money, and destroy a whole economy, and put 2.5 million people on the dole as a result. And it goes on. It goes on. They talk today in the House of Commons about the need for restoration of the moral base of society. And we sat there with people who had links to companies, large corporations, who've not paid their taxes, evading taxes, avoiding taxes to the scale of £150 billion a year. And we sat there as well, yes, with those people who colluded with what's gone on in the media, journalists hacking, police officers taking bribes. And what I was trying to say, and I said in a letter to The Guardian yesterday, was actually what's happened over the last few weeks, last few days, is another group have come and said, we've got the same morals as you. We've got the same morals as you. That we can take and grab what we can because we don't care about the consequences, and if we can get away with it, we will. And that's what's happened over the last few days. But it wasn't the bankers, it wasn't the MPs, it wasn't the ministers this time, it was largely kids. Kids motivated by the consumerism that they've been sold, as Lee Jasper said, from the 1980s onwards by Thatcher and every successive government, Labour and Tory. And we warned them. And they've been warned. They've been warned. They've been warned by academics like Wilkinson and Pickett. They've been warned by virtually every religious leader. They've been warned by people like you and me. That the more unequal a society, the greater levels of crime, the greater levels of antisocial behaviour. And it's inequality that we have to tackle. We had a debate on the finance bill only a month ago. We tried to expose. We now have in London, what is it? The top 10% of the richest people have wealth 300 times the bottom 10%. We now have directors of FTSE companies whose wages have gone up to 168 times that of the average worker of their companies. That's what we call inequality. And so today I sat through the cant and hypocrisy about those people who want to teach our society morals when actually they've been complicit in undermining the morals of our society. I'll just give one example in my own constituency. They were talking today about what does inequality mean. They rejected all idea about the implications, and we had lots of arguments around the need for good parenting. Well, in my constituency, I went to a group of Sikh kids. They did their own play a short while ago. And it was a play, a role play, about a parent chastising her daughter. And the daughter turned around and said, "Don't tell me you're my parent, because I don't see you. And I've never seen my father and mother together on the same day, at the same time, for months." Why? Because people are working long hours, double shifts, trying to just survive in this society and keep a roof over their head. And the other example the kids say, if you've got a family of 5 or 6 and you're living in a 2-bedroom bedsit or 2-bedroom apartment, of course, where do you go? Well, your kids go on the street because that's the only room for them. And when they're on the street, they become prey to the gangs. That's what poverty and inequality is doing. But they don't talk to us about good parenting, when actually what you're trying to do is break up families, destroy families as a result of inequality. But let me warn you of this, because the most repeated discussion in the House of Commons today was bringing the water cannons, bringing the rubber bullets. It's all about this human rights legislation that we supposedly overate. So I warn you, prepare for the backlash now, because it's coming. Because what they want to see is a host of repressive measures, because they think that they can repress society in this way and overcome these problems. The only way we can overcome these problems is the creation of a society that's fair and equal. And the only way that we can do that is exactly as Lee and others have said. It won't come through violence. It won't come through the disorganised and rioting that's gone on. It will become through the mobilisation of political protest and political organisation. We all have a responsibility on our shoulders now, each one of us, to get out there and start organising, to explain the nature of the society that we live in, to explain who the real criminals and looters are, and then to explain to people how they can change it. They can change it by organising with us. They can change it by political activity. And yes, if that means going out on the streets in peaceful demonstrations and peaceful reclamation of our society, that's what we'll need to do. So we do it in solidarity with a cause, not in anarchy or chaos, but with a cause. And that cause is change. Change for a just society. Let me just end up on this. Someone, I said at an earlier meeting a couple of months ago, sent me Pete Seeger album. And it had on it what they sang in the 60s in the civil liberties marches. And it's, "We shall overcome." People singing "We shall overcome." But when the kids, the black kids, marched through Alabama and they were being attacked by police dogs and the fascists and others, they changed the verse. They changed it to "We are not afraid. We walk hand in hand." We've got to go out there now to explain to people, don't be afraid, walk hand in hand. We can change this society through political mobilisation, solidarity.
And thank you so much to John McDonnell for that. And I can't emphasise enough, it is going to be crucially important for us to organise together. We're all gathered here tonight, a mass of us here spilling out into the hallways, up on the balcony, but we need to repeat these meetings on different scales in our own communities, and if we want to, we can work through Coalition of Resistance, which is like a network. I don't know, I've called it a network umbrella. People say they can't be both. Never mind, I'm a sculptor at heart. But we we can use that to contact each other, see what else is going on. If you want help to put on a meeting or to plan some action, some non-violent direct action in your area, you can use the tool of the website to advertise that for your area. Make sure people in your area know that the site is there. Make it your homepage. It's my homepage. And see what else is going on and use it to help to get organised. Local work has to go on. It's crucial because with these cuts to our public services, people are seeing them at that local level directly. And some people who have never been politically active before or shown much interest in political parties or anything like it are seeing a direct relationship to their own lives, and they are becoming politically motivated through the experience of what's happening locally to them. We can help to put that into a wider context and help to show how it's the big picture, the national battle that we need to fight in order to win. There's only so much we can do on a local level. We need to support everybody in their local fights, but we also need to get a really big national voice. So I do urge you to look at the Coalition Resistance website and